Right, hello and welcome to this episode of Fantasy or Eliteserien Fantasy. I'm Karam and today I'm joined by Tom, who is well known in Twitter as Hestibo ESN and FPL Hestibo in another account. But first of all, Tom, welcome here. This is not the first time you are here. You were a guest last season, but you are here today. Because you are on a strong course of another top 100 finish and very elite Eliteserien manager. So welcome here. Tell me, how are you?
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Thank you for inviting me back. It's great to be on. I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, I had a good game week last week, so that always is a good thing coming into a stream like this.
Absolutely, and welcome to everybody. I think they are coming in, but I can understand that some of them are watching the Budurlem game against Milan. You can see I'm in a different setup because there is no setup. I'm just having my laptop and camera, and here is a TV watching Budurlem. So I might have a live reaction if someone scores. But yeah, Tom, we have a few topics to discuss today. Of course, we will have a look at our game week 18, just behind us. We'll also look at the best captaincy options for next game week. We will also talk about the template. The template is so strong, Tom. The same players are delivering every week, and of course, some players wants to catch up with the rankings and climb up the rankings. So we'll chat today about how we can break it potentially. So we'll have some options, some approaches we might have a thought about. And finally, we will have a look at our transfer plans and captaincy picks. So let's start. I'll put your team first. You've got a decent, I think in Eliteserien, the 100 points is the FPL 50 points somehow.
Yes, very much so.
But it's a very strong one. So tell us about your game week.
Yeah, so I scored 104 points, which I'm very pleased with. It was a green arrow, my 7th green arrow in a row, so I'm on a good streak. I was about game week 7 or 8. I was ranked outside the top 10,000, and the comeback has been strong. And this week was another good week. So I captained Berisha, which wasn't the best captain, but at least he got a goal and a couple of bonus points. But I had most of the big players. I had Zinknagel, Horga, Batiki, Pellegrino, and Rude, who made up most of my points. I'm 143rd in the world now. Also went through in the cup against Otto. So hey, Otto.
Yeah.
It was good game. Good to play against you. And I managed to win that tie and make my way through. So all in all, a very, very pleasing game week. Yeah. How's your week, Karam?
Well, it's been a very, very good one. Finally, after 5 red arrows, I just hit the wildcard button and I reshuffled everything, mainly the back. I did not have a lot of changes in 4-2, it is, by the way.
Oh, no.
But yeah, I changed pretty much everything. No, I think it's an offside. So it stands as 3-2, I guess. So back to my team. I wildcarded. And I mainly shuffled the whole back. The only one survived was VAJ, Vidar Arionsson. He's my favorite player. He's my player of the year. And I got Espen. It's never too late with this guy, right?
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, but I dumped Bork, who who you started, and you got 9 points from him against Molde. Was a decent return, but I dumped him.
Yeah.
I'll put my team here just for the benefit of the viewers as well. So 114 points.
Oh wow!
Mitov Nelson with a clean sheet. Vidar Arionsson another clean sheet. Espen celebrated his 300 appearance with a goal, clean sheet, and assist. Exactly as I tweeted just before the game. Well,
I saw that.
Well done, my man. Hank Olsen was someone we debated over the week, especially on Slack. But I thought the penalty appeal was so strong for Hank Olsen. Of course, Bohinen is back now, so he might lose that potential. But yeah, it was him at 6 million. And of course, as you said, the same players I've kept the captaincy on Hager. For the last 2 weeks, I've been always tempted to switch to Synchronar because he's just on fire. And then no, stick to your principles. Don't change it. It will even out. And he was arguably, okay. I mean, Single-Handed outscored him. So is Petiti or Petici or Prime Henry, whatever you want to call him. Kjartansson was one of the recruitments as well in the wild card. So he got a goal. Could have had 13 points potentially if he scored a penalty. But that's about it with the 4 points. So yeah, 140. I think game week rank was 300 something. Not
very,
far away
very
from.
Strong.
So yeah, and I have my rank. I was 1009, and now I'm 489. So
oh wow, yes, that's very good. Top 100 back on the cards if you can have a good run in. Yeah.
I hope so. Well, that's why we might start now, because the template is so strong. We will see how it goes. So Andy Martin is here. Hello, Andy. Welcome to the stream. Andy Nash as well. Welcome as well. Jesper, welcome. How are you? And so let's have a look. Now, what has changed today? We have no Espen, we have no Jakob, so we don't have the eye test preview about the games, sadly. But let's chat a bit about some of the games, and let's start with another defeat for Molde. It seems they are giving up the lead, and I can't even trust that we can have assets from them. So, general thoughts about Molde. Now, they have drawn in the qualifier of the Champions League. They have another leg next week, and it seems the whole focus is there. Any temptation to recruit any of Molde assets?
I mean, it's interesting you say that. You mentioned in the first bit about Borchgrevink from Vålerenga.
Yeah.
I had no problem starting him against Molde. Like earlier in the season, I would have thought bench him. But for a game like that, I thought Vålerenga were going to win. I thought they might get a clean sheet, actually. I was disappointed that wasn't the case. But yeah, I think Molde now don't look like a strong team. They need to turn things around even to qualify for Europe again next season. Like they've been caught by Odd, Vålerenga, Rosenborg, even Christiansen are close. So they're falling out of contention completely. They seem to be picking players like Ikram in Europe and not in the league. So I think I'm not really tempted by their players particularly. I've got Hogan, who I'm not going to sell him. We get to see their team sheets the next couple of weeks. So if he's in, I'll start him. But I wouldn't buy any more. And if it was on wildcard, I probably would get rid of him.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the thing of a beauty, that your player was subbed off before with a clean sheet before it gets wiped out. So there was it was like 94th minute, pretty much the last action when I saw Wingro scoring the goal. But yeah, that's amazing. And the new recruitment, Kjartansson, I'm still yet to get his name smoothly spelled right. So he was all right, I think, from the comments on the Slack. He looked like someone who was worth the 11 million.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I watched the highlights on the website, and he just looks like a proper striker. Like in the box, he's going to be where the ball is, and he's got a knack of putting it in the net. So I'm really glad he missed the penalty. I decided to wait to bring him in, and then when I saw he scored earlier, I was like, I've made a mistake here. I needed to have acted quickly, and I rolled a transfer. I thought I'd be strong this week with 2, and I waited, but I was so lucky that I wasn't punished by him. So he's already in this week now. I've acted early and made the move. He's a great player.
Nice. And he has a good fixture in game week 20 as well, which we'll talk about later in the question section. We have something about the chips as well, so we'll have a look at that. Moving on to Sunday games, we have to stop by Bodø/Glimt. The team is just smashing everybody. And we kind of thought that Brand will surely tighten things up after the big defeat last week. That will not happen again. And I mean, Signanader and Hager, they just can't stop scoring points. I mean, for us managers, we are now pushing towards one of them to outscore the another now. It doesn't matter if they score 20 points if the other one is 25, right? So
exactly.
What a luxury situation we are in now. So you moved, you've been committed to Hager captain for a really long time, I believe. And you moved it to Berisha this week. What was the rationale there? Is that something you want to try out?
I've not been on Hager every week. I've had Hager as my Bodø/Glimt captain. So I've been doing captains from different teams. I've had Pellegrino a couple of times. I've had Berisha. because these guys are keeping pace with the Bodø/Glimt players as well. But when I've been on Bodø/Glimt, it's been on Hager rather than Zinkernagel. I think that's incorrect. At the time I made that decision, they were matching each other. It looks like Zinkernagel is getting his nose in front, and so I think I will change that. Next time I'm on Bodø/Glimt, I will go Zinkernagel. And I think the ownership as well is a factor. My rank is good, and so I don't want to expose myself to being on the wrong end of what everyone else is doing.
With the penalty appeal, just might it change your situation? Because we don't know yet who's effectively going to take the next pen. We know, like from the news, that Hager might take it, but also saying that I will not make it easy, I think.
Yeah.
So is that something in consideration?
It's a small factor. The fact that we don't know for sure means that I'm not going to overly make a difference. I mean, even with penalties on Hager, it's still been Zinkernagel who's been scoring more points at the moment. So he does seem best to me. Yeah, who knows? Maybe someone else, maybe Junker or someone will take it anyway, and I take it off both of them because they've both missed penalties this season already.
Right, and he's back in the game. He's playing against Milan, yes, and he scored a goal. So he seems to be back to scoring goals. So that's very good and worrying if you have Boniface or might not. I don't know really how they how they will rotate each other. But yeah, going to Pellegrino, I think he's someone we have to mention as well quickly because he is heading towards, what's that now? 18 goals for the season. Incredible. I think the next one comes next to him are the Bodø/Glimt players. And he's having a season of his own, right? So Pellegrino, you've put the armband on him a couple of times, and he's by far very superior player.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah, I got him in last season, like just before his hat trick, when like no one else had him, and I captained him and got his hat trick. Wow. Ever since then, he's been. You know, there are some players, and they're just your guys who you get on them before everyone, and then you're loyal to them because like they've rewarded you. Pellegrino is that for me. Like I love the guy.
Yeah,
and he plays with such flair as well. Like such a fun player to watch. And he's replied to my tweets as well.
Oh, that's more than enough. I mean, in my case, Lady James is pretty active to like and respond to my tweets. But I can't
interview them.
Yeah, but I can't move that in action to bring him to my team because he's not playing. I hope so. I hope he comes back. I think he's one of the players that can actually break the template, but it doesn't seem anytime soon. And just looking at the chat, Andy Martin is saying my green arrow streak is over. I wonder what that 13, 14 green arrows in a row. It's been sensational to. Since the last 3-4 months already, so it has to stop at some point. But yeah, looking further the game weeks. Let me just go to the screen again. I think we have to mention Odd, a team who it's just about Espen. I think I don't know. The defender is a defender, but he's a winger. He's a striker. He's on penalties, and Espen ownership is not that high, 20% overall. I'm sure it's much more in the top 1,000 or so.
I would have thought so, yeah.
The ownership is crazy, yeah?
He reminds me of Matt Doherty, actually, like the way the positions he was taking, like the goal and the assist that he got, both were from open play, that kind of fullback. But then if you add to that, he takes penalties sometimes, direct free kicks, corners, like complete fantasy football legend, like got everything, and in a good defensive team as well. Like Ardo are tight, so get clean sheets from him. So he actually was the player to captain this week, even over Zinkernagel and Batiki and everyone. Like 18 points. A couple of weeks ago, he got 20 points. Like what a player!
Wow, amazing legend. So. In about the other games, Viking. Let's end with Viking. They are still in their hot streak of scoring goals, of wins, whatever it is. But we might have an answer about Alisson because we thought They have tightened things up after changing the manager. They have got like 2 defeats, 1-0, something like that. But no, 5 goals from Viking. So I think the Operation Target Allison is still on.
Absolutely, yeah.
But let's talk about Viking because Petici and Berisha are still on the points. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Petici in particular? Because his ownership has increased dramatically the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I brought him in a couple of weeks ago. He's brilliant. Yeah, like his free kicks, they've got something Ronaldo-ish about them, like the way he hits a ball. Like he's quality. Like, love the guy. Berisha as well looks like he's going to score every game. Like those 2 guys, I wouldn't go without them.
Absolutely,
very dangerous players.
Absolutely, that's amazing. So yeah, looking forward now, we've just done 18 game weeks already, 12 game weeks to go, and everybody is in a position where I have to start climbing the rankings. I have to start considering other moves. But as we know, the template is so strong that everybody pretty much now, even in the cup now, all the opponents I've got now are having the same front 6, front 7. So it's either climbing the ranking or winning the cup ties. The question that people are asking at the minute, how we can break it, how we can try different things to get an edge on that. So Tom, what do you think now of the current scenario and how we can, what can we try differently to get bigger green arrows, let's say?
It's a great question. I think the first thing that I would say is the more important question than how we break the template is when we break the template. So if we look over the season so far, we've been in this moment before where there's been a really strong template. Everyone had the same players. Like everyone had Borven at the start. Everyone had Ikram and James. Everyone had Juncker. Everyone had Kumsen. And these were the players that we thought we're not going to gain an edge. But at some point or another, each of these players stopped being the best player to own. They kind of became suboptimal. So Juncker was probably the most recent one. He got injured straight away. I was looking at him thinking, right, he's not the player to have anymore. Fine. Transfer him out straight away, transfer Boniface in, and I'll deal with getting him back as and when. Same with Kumsen. He was great, then he wasn't great, and he can go, but Tiki can come. I think the people who haven't gained the rankings are the people who've held on to people too long after they've stopped being the template player. There's the fear, looking back, they used to be delivering for everyone, so I'll hold them just in case. The more proactive managers who've said this player needs to go, right, there's an opportunity now to do something different, are the ones who gained. What's difficult about this is spotting those moments. So spotting right now, this player has to go. If you go too early on it, you miss the points that the player will deliver. But you have to go early. You have to pick these moments. Otherwise, you will be left behind by the people who get it when you're still holding on to... I think we were talking on Slack about Ikram and James over the last 6 weeks, and Ikram's got like 4 points. James has got 5 points. Yeah. Less than a point a week when Berisha's on, 60-odd, 70-odd, Zinchenko the same. So by holding these players, you've just killed your season if you don't get rid of them. So the when question, I think, is crucial. Now, at the moment, I think there are 7 players that need to be in a team. And if you get rid of them, they are going to punish you. And for me, that's 2 Bodeglimt midfielders. That's Zinchenko and Hogg. 2 Viking players that we've talked about, Berisha and Batiki. Pellegrino, Kjartansson, and Ruud. And these are the players that will completely damage you. That's 6 out of your 7 attacking slots taken up. And so that only leaves 1 to mess around with. And I think most people in that 7th slot have Saltness, and I can understand why. He's the probably the best on paper 7th option. But there are others who are closer to him than they are to the other 6. He's not going to kill you. So if you want to go template, Saltness. If you don't, I think that's the slot to experiment with. And there's lots of ways you can experiment. So Juncker's back tonight. Maybe he's the template breaker. Or Islamovic has been scoring goals recently. There's Donham. There's Holtz is doing well. Zacharias. And there are other players that you can put in that slot if you want to try something different, or maybe try something different with the defense. Like if you've got Rude, maybe you go double odd defense or triple odd defense and say there's not many clean sheets, but if I pick the right team and get 3 clean sheets out of 4, that propels me forward. So there are things you can do even now, but I'd be looking at these kind of core 6 or 7 players and really monitoring for when one of them stops being optimal and jumping at that moment. And if you can get ahead of the crowd onto the new trend, that's the big game.
That's absolutely, that makes absolute sense here. And from my experience as well, I'm one of those who I think held on James and Juncker until like game week 16, 17 on the basis that James is playing. He's becoming more and more differential. And Berisha was delivering, but was not like smashing at double digits every game week. So I was like, okay, come on, James. And Juncker, I think the lack of info that we've got about his injury when he's back, he's always in a bracket, back soon. And of course, in FPL, we use that strategy to hold on players, right? And then it doesn't seem to be the case. Once if any player here is injured, he's just gone. Just sit him. Don't think too much about it. And I think Juncker stayed in my team for until like the last 2 weeks before I did Berisha for the last 2 double digits. And that was one of the reasons why I lost a lot of grounds. I've been in 455 6 game weeks ago. I never touched it again. I've been always back and back, and in the most important 2 spots in my team. It's not in defense, it's in the attack, and that's why while people had Boniface benefiting from the points, Berisha, it was just so annoying why those people are scoring points and I don't have them. Why do I keep those players? And that's a reason, a big reason of where I was until last game week. And I agree that the 5th spot in midfield looks like the spice where you can attack, actually, because Saltness is not naturally a goal scorer, right? He's an assister. He is getting I wouldn't say the odd goal. He scored few goals already, but he's not an explosive player. And it could be someone. That spot could be actually in the forward, because at some point I have 3 strikers to use the attack. So potentially it might be the 3rd striker spot will be back in life after really weeks of even not using it. Gusais was maybe the most expensive 3rd forward. And also the defense is one of the approaches I considered on my wildcard, is to go double with Nesse and Mitov Nilsson, so double Salzburg defense, for example, and it would have worked out nicely, but at the expense of Hank Olsen or so. But I did not go for it at the end. So indeed, the double defense from a one team seems too much in Eliteserien, because we don't have a team that is consistent in clean sheets. But if you've got the right team, if you rely on a relatively strong defensive team, get clean sheets, then those 6 points might make a difference for you, because now we are just close to each other again. And so the question is here, if you want to suggest players, you've mentioned already a few names in midfield, which forwards might be the template breaker over the next couple of game weeks? Juncker might be one of them. You own Boniface, so if he keeps his place, he's still low owned, I think. Any other names maybe in mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, certainly Islamovic is doing well now. He's got 5 goals in the last 6 game weeks. So he's coming into more prominence now. I heard rumours that Borven might be moving away to Turkey as well, which would nail down that spot even more for him. Some of the usual suspects as well. People like Salverson is always worth a look. No other names immediately jumping out. I used my attack in game week 1, so I'm not at all worried about needing to have a 3rd striker. But yeah, going for a body glint striker would be the way. Of course, keep an eye on Mulder as well. If Uhi or James looks like they're getting back to their old selves, then they'd be very good for it.
Yeah, I think Mulder is one of the teams that I'm really waiting patiently for them to come back and give some focus on the Eliteserien. I don't think they are. I think they gave up the lead. I think they still want to finish second to get the qualifier for next year. And if you look at the table now, I mean, it's ridiculous how competitive it is now. Valerenga is competing as well. Odd is competing as well. So it's not really a given that Molde is securing the second spot, and it might actually not be James anymore. Well, for sure we know Molde will commit to European games to the rest of the season every midweek, whether they go to the Champions League or Europa League. But if we know for sure that Akram and James will be playing in the European games, then it gives us an option of Ohi, for example, to emerge. Ohi, I think he's never been spoken about during the season. If Akram will get benched every weekend, then the midfielder Hestad or Christensen, Bran Helsen, the double game week hero, could be someone to target as well. And they are not expensive like Akram and James, so they could be ones. In terms of defenders, you've mentioned Espen Ruud he's a must on. Let's put it this way. You have to have him. Any other defenders or defenses in general that catch your eye? I think for me, I like Sandefjord. I can't praise them enough, and I think they will. Of course, the next game weeks are tough. That's why I'm benching VAJ myself. But after game week 22, I think, or the 21, the fixtures are good for Sandefjord, and they can make a clean sheet every now and then. But I wouldn't rely too much on that. Any other teams you think? Stabæk, for example, they haven't been on good form defensively. If they catch things up, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Stabæk could be a good way to break the template, because it seems like everybody has got their defenders. Like everyone's got someone, Solheim or Hans Olsen, and they really are kind of a sort of middle of the pack defense. So to ignore them and get someone better could be a good way to go against the crowd. I mean, my favourite defences are probably not rocket science. Like Rosenborg are very good defensively. I'd want a piece of that. So I've got the goalkeeper, Hansen, and he probably is the safest way in with the rotation on the fullbacks and everything. As I say, Ruud and Valerenga defence. I mean, they're just good. Borchgrevink gets assists. He gets bonus points and clean sheets. So very interested there. Odd are good. I'd be considering maybe having two of them. Sarpsborg are good. Like, these are some of the teams that I'd look at. Haugesund as well are a decent defensive team. Stolas costs too much money, I think, for what he delivers, but there are other ways into the defence that are cheaper.
Yeah, I would like to add as well some of the attacking defenders. Aspak is one of those players who was in my very short list of wildcard to have, and we've been chatting about him in the Slack last week, and we thought that he lost his place potentially to Askar, even though he came back from an injury. But when he just came back, he just scored, and he proved why he is probably the best defensive player in Kristiansand. And at 5.0, I think he's an auto buy if you have a wild card or you are on it. I think Aspak is a great shout, and he is on set pieces. He is on goals as well. He has that potential as well. So he might be someone that would come in the next couple of game weeks for me, because he's not that highly owned as well. So he's one to watch for sure. Stabæk is some, if they pick up, like we picture them like last season, right? The team, the solid team. Sandberg, we didn't even hear about him as a decent goalkeeper from a fantasy perspective anymore, because he used to make lots of saves, and he apparently is not making anything this season. So
expensive as well.
Yeah, I think he's 5'8", 5'7" now, and it's still expensive for what he offers. So he could be someone, and of course, if they pick up clean sheets, Rosenborg is always kind of you like them but you don't like them. You can't. I have some like allergic from Rosenborg assets, but I owned some of them recently. But Yeah, I think they have always the capability to keep clean sheets, and they kept one in Europe. And it shows that they can't concede an easy game, but they can keep it as well. And you have to rely on them. René Jansen is back to the team, so that's a boost for their defense. They've had a couple of signings as well. Konati, the left back, and the Icelandic defender. I can't even AJ or something like that. So I think they will keep a few clean sheets the next game weeks, and that's probably double up Rosenborg defense maybe.
I mean, Konate, you mentioned he's only 5.5, so for a Rosenborg defender that's cheap. If he keeps the spot, it's worth keeping an eye on what they do with it. But if it looks like he's playing every week, then that's a great price.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a live update from the Bodø/Glimt game. It's almost 90 minutes. Boniface and Junker out, so he played pretty much the whole game. It's still 3-2.
Come on, Glenn. Come
on. Milan was about to score, but the defender cleared it on from the line, so could have been 4-2 already. All right, so Tom, let's talk about the captaincy for next game week, because it seems also one of the ways to climb the ranking is to nail the captain. Pretty much your 5 attackers or 6 attackers will get you 10 points plus. But which one will get the 20 or the 18 or would be the winner of the game week? So I think it's one of those. You have to nail it somehow. I've been on Haga for a long time, and I don't think he has been the highest scoring captain pretty much in all weeks recently. He has been outscored by somebody, either Singranagel or Pellegrino. Do you think that changing the captaincy from now could be a double sword for the rankings?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the moment we've not got one player who's consistently way better than everybody else.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're in auto-captain territory at all. I think we're needing to choose week by week based on the circumstances of that week, the fixture. Also, the European games factor into it as well. And so each week it's a decision to make rather than, this is my guy and he's just going to be the captain throughout. Now, doing that is risky because you could miss all the hauls and end up captaining the player who does worse. But if you're trying to gain ranking, you have to take that risk. You have to gamble on being able to make a good choice and pick well. That's what fantasy football's about. Not just removing decision, but being able to make decisions and get them correct. And that's the sword play. So yeah, for sure, we need to be looking week by week.
Yeah, and having a look at game week 19 fixtures, I think we will get the team sheet of Molde next game week, but it's not an easy game. I'm a half Sandefjord fan now, so I don't think it's an easy game for them. But when you look at this game week, captaincy should be somewhere within Bodø/Glimt players, within Rosenborg potentially, who play Alisand, because we are back in the operation, targeting Alisand. But also Viking against Mjøndalen, who are having a terrible form recently. So, what do you think of Rosenborg for captaincy options against Alisand?
I'm not going to captain a Rosenborg player. They don't have any players that are hitting the levels of. I mean, some players are averaging 10 points a game at the moment, and that's your Berishas, your Pellegrinos, your Batikis, Zinkernagel. Rosenborg don't have anyone who's hitting those kind of levels. So, no, they're not a team that interests me for captaincy. Now, I am keeping Zachariasen, who I've had for a while. My plan was to get rid of him at some point, but I'll keep him for the fixture. But no, captain-wise, I'm not going there.
All right. So, are you going potentially to Viking and Mjøndalen?
I am. Yeah, Berisha's my man. He's my man.
Berisha. Okay. Yeah. And for the differential captains, it might be Petitia as well as a differential captain.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, if you really want a differential captain, Kjartansson could be the man. I mean, this is my hot tip for the week, which sounds crazy to say, but I'm tipping Vålerenga to win against Bodø/Glimt. Yeah, I think. After going to Milan, you often have the kind of the night after the Lone Mare show, they call it, where coming after such a crucial game, there's a come down, and I think that's going to happen. And I can see Vålerenga taking the win. So that's a differential one, but yeah, Viking seems the obvious, and I'm going to play the obvious.
Wow. I mean, obviously, we know that Budurlim cannot keep clean sheets anyway. So captaining a player who plays against Budurlim might not be a bad thing at all. Valerian might lose, might nick a win, but probably Kjartansen will score against them. And just live from there, it's over. The dream is over. 3-2 to Milan. And I wonder whether they will have it as a very positive experience that they have come back and be strong against in the Eliteserien, or they might have had a shout like, oh, I missed a big chance to get to Europe, and we might see negative reaction against Vålerenga. But yeah, captaincy from them is still always a good option. I don't think you can go wrong with that. It's just who between Heide and Signanagel. Christiansen play against Bran. And this one sounds a bit tricky, but Bran haven't been good defensively, and Pelé is in the form of his life.
I don't mind that at all. That's a good idea. I think Bran have signed a new defender, if I'm right in saying that. But yeah, I could cope with captain in Pellegrino. I think Christensen will probably get 2, 3, maybe 4 goals in that game.
Oh, interesting. One of the differential captains I would not advise too much, but if you have still Salvesen against Salzburg and you gave up on live, maybe let's say, or not live on the fantasy live, then you might consider captain. But hopefully, Mitov Nelson, I can't recommend something against my goalkeeper, right? But Salvesen is always a good shout. He's getting those chances, like he misses a lot of chances, but he scores some of them. He might be someone to let me have a look at the fixtures, because I don't actually have it in the back of my mind. But Salvesen, will he be one of those who can break the template at 8.5?
Yeah, I mean he could well be for that 7th attacker slot. He's as good an option as any.
It could be tricky against Salzburg, but Viking is good one for goals. Start at home is a good one as well. Then Molde, well, who knows, maybe they will score. And Vålerenga Mjøndalen. So the run is not bad. And Strømgård are capable of scoring. They will concede, but doesn't mean they will not score. All right. So any other scrap the barrel, as they say? Like, is there any other options we might have a look? No, I don't think.
I mean, for a differential player, I'm not sure you captain him, but maybe Heinz from Sarpsborg, new signing, could be another template breaker. Not many people have him. Even a Sarpsborg captain, if you really want to go different, someone like Moss might be a captain against Strømsgodset.
I believe they have signed or about to sign a new striker. I'm not following this info about them, but just keep it in mind if you have Moss. I think Jakob has him as well. So probably Moss will keep his place, but it's something to keep an eye on as well. But Heinz as an option. I haven't watched him yet, but he hasn't blanked since he started playing. So he seems to be a good one. 8.5 is not an easy price for everyone to get, because I think the limit for the 5th slot is Saltness or Petici, and then to go to 8.5, it needs a lot of funds. So he might be a decent differential for the fact that you can't not everyone can easily get to him, and you might have an edge because of this. So all right. So let's have a look at our teams for next game week, and you already. Tom already said that you used your transfer. So tell us who is in, who is out, and your captain option.
Well, I've used one transfer. I had 2 free transfers this week, so I still could make another one if I choose to do so. What I've done so far is I moved Boniface out and I've brought Kjartansen in. After last weekend, I realised I couldn't wait any longer, and he was someone who I had money in the bank to move up from Boniface to, but only just enough. And so because we don't have price predictor websites in ESN, I didn't want to risk not having the capacity to do it. So I moved early and got him in. My second free transfer, my intention is to roll it, but I do want to see team sheets. So if I get predicted teams or something like that with one of my players missing out, then I'll act and use my second transfer. If not, I'll roll it because the main guy to get rid of would be Zachariasen.
Yeah.
And he's playing Alisson, so I don't want to get rid of him yet. The way I'm lining up is Hansen in goal. Got Rude. I'll start Hogan as long as he's on the team sheet. And given that Kitolano got sent off, I presume Hogan will play. And then Hegheim making up my defence. Linkenhagel, Horga, Batiki, Pellegrino, and Zachariasen in midfield. And Gartenson and Berisha, my captain, up front. So that's how I'm lining up.
Yeah. That's the 50th slot you have with Zacharias, and he's your guy, the template breaker, and you don't have a third Budi Glimt player. You're probably satisfied with the two you have, and I mean the team looks very good, and hopefully Hayden starts. I think they have no other option. Who knows that this Mo is just pipping us like in FPL. But yeah, good luck with that. And it's a strong captaincy option, Berisha. I can't say anything about this. Of course, here is my team. I have one transfer, of course, after the wild card. My plan is to roll, but I appreciate that I have only 0.1 in the bank that allows me to go Gregerson to Aspat directly. But I will have to wait until the team sheets, and I might just start Daland against Stabæk, or Vidar Jensen against Molde. So I'm not out of 11 players to get. I'm not fancying a lot of points from that spot. If I roll the transfer, which is a plan, it gives me the chance to get whoever starts from Junker and Boniface in game week 20. And that will allow me to use the attack chip on Kjartansen, Berisha, and Junker / Boniface, because they have. I'll just delete the game week 20 fixtures. I know it's a good one for them. Valerenga has Mjøndalen at home. Bodø Glimt has Sandefjord at home, and Viking has Strømsgodset at home. So
perfect week for it.
It's amazing week for it, but you have to nail whoever plays. Now, Bodø Glimt are out of Europe. It might give us a chance to realize who would start more. I would imagine that Junker will be the game week 20 starter. Maybe Boniface now because of the rotation, whatever. So I think that's something I will keep an eye on for the next game week, and of course on Twitter with journalists and some team news. Potentially, but that's where I am at now. And after the attack chip, I'm chipless. I use my 2 wild cards. I used everything, so I'll have to find a way to survive the last 10 without the chips, while others have. We have a couple of questions before we end the stream. I should have mentioned before the teams already, but we kind of already touched on them. So a question from Kenneth asking about differentials for the back line. We already mentioned some names, some approaches as well. So maybe Riza plus Root to have is something to consider maybe. Any other names you'd like to mention as well, Tom?
No, none that I didn't mention earlier. I've not seen many teams with Haugesund defenders in. They're a decent defensive team. Maybe someone like Desler might be a good person to look at. I like your shout of Asbak. Is a good one. Risa, as we said. They'd be some of the first names that came to mind.
Good fixtures to Hardison. I haven't even realized that. Oddestart, Salzburg, and Viking, Alessand, Brann, Sandefjord. So they have a decent run until game week 25. I don't know how many goals they will score, so I'm not sure about their attack. But the defense is indeed worth a look for sure. A question from Andy Martin, who is also in the chat. Is asking about, is this a good game week for me to play the Rich Uncle chip, as we will get a Molde lineup before the deadline? I think it's hard for me to justify a Rich Uncle just because of the Molde team sheet. But it depends really on your team, how it looks like for the next game week. I believe there should be better opportunities in the future to use the Rich Uncle. So it's really very specific. Team-specific case. What do you think, Tom, about this?
Yeah, I mean, I have a different opinion to most people who I've talked to about how the season's going to go. most people say there are going to be no more blank game weeks and no more double game weeks, but I think that's very unlikely. If we look at the current state of COVID and how things, it's getting worse and worse all over the world. More cases, more numbers. We saw today Zlatan didn't play because he tested positive. In England, we had West Ham players. We've had Gundogan. We've had the Tottenham game was called off because of it. This is becoming bigger and bigger again. And I think we'd be quite naive if we think in the remainder of the Norwegian season that we won't be affected, that players aren't going to have to miss out, or that whole games are not going to be called off. Also, the season, because of the first lockdown, was pushed back to a later start and a later finish. So it's running almost up until Christmas. Norwegian weather is bad, like particularly later in the year. And we're getting into the time when snow and adverse weather is going to disrupt the schedule. So I think we are going to get games called off, and we are going to get blanks, and therefore we'll also get doubles as well. So one that I looked at, for example, game week 28, Bodø/Glimt have a home game against Stabæk. Now we're in December. We're in a place that's pretty much in the Arctic Circle. It's not unrealistic to think we might get snowy conditions. What do you do if Bodø/Glimt get their game called off in game week 28? You've got a team full of their players. You've got no chips to use. It's going to be chaos, isn't it? Are you going to sell them? Are you going to play 8 players? So my approach to Rich Uncle and to Wildcard is going to be save them and use them when the blanks and the doubles that I'm expecting will come. Now, if I'm wrong, and if there are no blanks and no doubles, I can have a party in game week 29 and 30 and basically a free hit team on both of them. But I think the potential upside now is there, but it's quite small. I think the potential upside, if I'm right, and we do get these blanks and doubles, is going to be much bigger. So I would advocate saving would be my answer.
You changed Andy Martin's mind. He's saying he was set on the Rich Uncle 5 minutes ago. But yeah, I looked quickly while you were speaking about this point. And indeed, Bodø/Glimt have 2 fixtures in the last 3 at home. And it's in the frame of 1 week. So it will be interesting, actually, because I think it will not get any better in Norway if they cancel this game. So where would they play it? Are we potentially getting maybe in the forecast that they will play it earlier as one of the midweek games potentially? Because I think they have, apart from game week 29, they have a pretty much weekend games every game week. So it might make sense for Bodø/Glimt to play the last 2 home games earlier than expected, so we might actually get too many double game weeks. That's an approach. I've never thought about it before. It just came out. I'm thinking about it out loud, but it makes sense probably. And I don't know if they have considered it as well in the Eliteserien.
I haven't heard about it. It'd be unusual to preemptively postpone a game, but I could certainly see a scenario where a game late in the season, maybe 28 or 29, gets called off, and then they have to move it after the season and wait for weather to clear up. So a double game week 30 could be a potential thing. I wouldn't rule these things out. And so for me, I've got my wild card left. I've got my Rich Uncle left. I want to save them both, because if I get a blank and I get a double, and you've got people in the situation you're in, and many other players who have used chips, I know that with them in hand, that's an opportunity then that I can
definitely. That's a very interesting thoughts that I've personally never thought of. So Andy, keep the chip, Andy. That's the conclusion. Where possible, I think I use it because I really need it, and I think that this game week I've made a lot of points more than my original team.
It's been a good use of it. You've gained the profit from it, so you can't argue with that.
Exactly that. Well, Tom, thanks so much for joining me here today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been a pleasure to having you as well on the show. Good luck with the next game weeks. Hopefully you rack up the top 100 again.
Let's hope so.
And we will see you again very soon for sure.
Great. Thanks for having me. See you later.
Thanks very much. And thanks to everybody who joined the stream today. If you like it, please like, share, and subscribe if you are first time here. See you next week, guys. Cheers.
Bye.